The head of the Secret Service, Kimberly Cheadle, the director of the FBI, Christopher Wray, and the Pennsylvania State Police Commissioner Parris all gave testimony about failures in security that led to an assassination attempt on former President Trump. I watched all 12 combined hours of their separate congressional hearings over the last 4 days so that I could curate the most important new information that we've learned from their testimony for you. It was a marathon of bureaucracy and government at its finest. My sanity has been thoroughly tested by this, and I don't think I'll ever be the same again.
Why was Crooks able to fly a drone over the entire area the day of the rally and the day of his assassination attempt?
Again, I would have to go back and check the timeline of when that took place.
It's shocking to me that security doesn't have any counter-drone warfare options in 2024. I know there are tools out there right now that allow the FAA and law enforcement to create what's called a geofence that prevents people from flying drones in certain regions. Yes, there are some RC drones and homemade ones that get around the geofencing, but when we talk about deterrence, we're talking about taking all the steps necessary to make it harder to circumvent security, not impossible. The drone allowed the shooter to see that there were no officers guarding the rooftop. Unlike Cheadle, FBI Director Christopher Wray does answer some actual questions, but this one answer I found to be a little strange.
Were you able to determine whether the shooter took the gun up with him when he climbed up to the top of the roof, or was it already placed there somewhere?
And I don't think this has been reported yet, that the weapon had a collapsible stock, which could explain why it might have been less easy for people to observe. The first people to observe him with the weapon were when he was already on the roof.
Here, this is an example of a fully collapsible stock similar to that one. It can maybe make the weapon about 4 or 5 inches shorter. I understand what the FBI director is getting at here, but collapsing a stock is likely not going to be enough to make a huge difference that people will not spot it. The weapon was a Defense Procurement Manufacturing Services AR-15. There are foldable stock versions of it, so maybe the FBI director was talking about a foldable stock instead of a collapsible one. If I had to guess, he had a backpack with the weapon disassembled in it, and then he assembled the rifle on the roof. But all over the media now, they're saying that a collapsible stock is the reason he was able to hide the weapon. It was still probably at least 28 inches long if he was only collapsing it. But I think the most shocking revelation comes from Pennsylvania State Police Commissioner Parris when he said this.
Colonel Parris, are you aware whether any law enforcement officer or officers was or were posted in the second floor window of the AGR building?
To my knowledge, there were 2 posted there from Butler ESU.
Is it sort of like a SWAT team?
They are trained in SWAT tactics.
If that's the case, how were they unable to see the shooter from there? Before we get into that, I want to tell you about the people that made this video possible. Conflict of Nations, a super fun and free online PvP strategy game. If World War III broke out, which country would you want to lead? Well, in Conflict of Nations, you can do exactly that. You pick your nation, set your economy, and army recruitment up for success. And then play it out in the game while fighting up to 128 other players in real-time battles that can take up to weeks to complete. Whether it's modern tanks, stealth fighter jets, nuclear submarines, or any other units, it's up to you to build up your own military however you see fit to declare war on your neighbors or forge alliances with other players. Choose your strategy to engage in epic battles and even take over the world. You can play with the same account on both PCs and mobile, and the gameplay is super smooth on either platform. Right now, Conflict of Nations has a special exclusive gift for you. Just click our link in the description to get 13,000 gold premium currency and 1 month of the premium account features for free. Commissioner Parris appeared to just confirm that there were 2 officers overlooking the rooftop where the shooter fired from. So, that begs the question, how did he go unnoticed?
Did they remain on post?
I was told that at a certain point, they began searching along with other local officers in the immediacy.
Until the shooting, they had left that post to go look for him. Is that what you're saying?
My understanding is yes.
So from the commissioner's testimony, local police were on the building next door, but they left their post to go look for the suspicious person. If that really is what happened, abandoning a post in the military or in law enforcement could be a major oversight, because it could have opened up an opportunity for the shooter to exploit. Or maybe they were dispatched by superiors to go investigate because they didn't have enough manpower. However, I found this article that contradicts that testimony by the Butler County District Attorney Richard Goldinger, who says, yeah, one officer did briefly leave the building, but he quickly returned and the post was never left vacant, and he also says that the view from there could never have seen where the shooter was anyway. But newly released body cam footage shows officers located right where the shooter was, and they appear to have a clear view of the second sniper team.
So this is the guy
Yes, that they sent yes, Beaver County sniper seen and sent the pictures out. This is him. Second, I believe the sniper that seen these and sent the pictures is right inside this building. Michelle's there. All right, so if you go to that window that's open and yell for, that's the sniper that sent the original pictures.
Paris also confirmed that the would-be assassin was on the roof for about 3 minutes in total before shots rang out, which contradicts other information that he was on the roof for 20 minutes before. But all this was the responsibility of the Secret Service. So what I've done is compiled all of the director's most open and candid answers as to how this happened.
Sir, I don't have a specific person to identify for you.
Okay, well, that's what I'm looking for.
I have no idea how my statement got out. Well, that's bullshit. It is my view that when the investigations are complete, that we will be able to share that information. Again, I'm not going to get into the specifics of the numbers of personnel that we had there. I did not want to reveal conversations that I've had with my employees.
So Cheadle's testimony was just a masterclass in deception, lying, withholding information, and refusing to answer any questions. Listen to how the FBI director tries to give more detail. The reason he's giving testimony is because it's the FBI's job to investigate the Secret Service.
We believe that the first time he traveled to the grounds was, I think, a week before. And he spent roughly 20 minutes there.
The shooter was able to get 8 shots off before he was killed.
That's what it would appear, yes. We now believe that the subject climbed onto the roof using some mechanical equipment on the ground and vertical piping on the side of the AGR building. In other words, we do not believe he used a ladder to get up there.
Which actually jives with what some of the anonymous sources are saying, that he used an air conditioning unit on the outside of the building to climb up. Now, watch as Director Cheadle tries to squirm out of answering questions about how she chose to prioritize resources based on threat level.
Okay, you continue to answer that very carefully, because I made a broader statement. The agents that came to me made a broader statement that his permanent protective detail for years now have been asking for more. Is that correct?
I do not have specific incidents of those requests.
The First Lady's event that was relatively secure, especially compared to Trump's rally, get 12 assets, and Trump's get 3 from the Pittsburgh field office. That's a yes or no question. If you don't know, don't answer it. I mean, if you don't know, don't answer it.
The number of personnel that were allocated to both of those events were comparable to the risk at both of those events.
Wow.
Is it correct that they've been asking for more?
I have heard the same reports that you have. Without having them in front of me, I am unable.
Those requests are made in writing.
Cheadle essentially admits that the request by Trump's security detail was made for additional security, but that was denied in the past. Not in the specific Butler rally, but what she does is she lies by omission by refusing to answer if she ever denied requests for more resources at any point. Agents spoke to lawmakers off the record, saying that they had asked the Department of Homeland Security for more resources and more manpower, and that they were denied in these requests.
Do you have the ability personally, do you have the authority to beef up security of any of your protectees?
Yes, I do.
Okay. So were you also aware there was a credible threat President Trump was facing? He was facing a heightened security threat to a foreign adversary?
Yes.
Congressman Fallon is referring to the fact that the intelligence community had detected a credible Iranian threat against former President Trump. Iran had been trying to kill Trump ever since he eliminated the head of the Quds Force, it's like the Iranian CIA, in an airstrike in 2020. So he's pointing out that more resources should have been given to Trump due to the increased threat assessment versus some of the other 35 people that they're protecting in the government.
Would you say the fact that we had to issue a subpoena to get you to show up today?
I have always been
yes
eager
or
to
no?
come
You didn't
and
want to
talk
answer
to
the question.
committee.
We had to issue a subpoena to get you to show up today. That is not transparent, by the way.
That's a really important point on the subpoena here. There are 20 committees inside Congress that focus on different areas like security, education, and foreign affairs. The job of the 40 members of Congress in the Oversight Committee here is to make sure that there is accountability into the federal government and all of its agencies. It's their job to provide a check and balance on the role of power inside of Washington. They have the authority to issue subpoenas. This is what legally compels witnesses to testify and provide documents, because if they don't, it's under possible penalty of going to prison or huge fines. They had to subpoena Kimberly Cheadle from the Secret Service because she was trying to avoid going to this.
You know what else is dangerous? I believe your horrifying ineptitude and your lack of skilled leadership is a disgrace. Your obfuscating today is shameful, and you should be fired immediately and go back to Garden Doritos. Mr. Chairman, I yield back.
I'm quite sure if I asked any one of my kids if they got in trouble and I told them to give me the details, I would get more answers from them than I'm getting from you right now. And that's what's frustrating on a bipartisan basis. And Director, you're in charge, and that's why you need to go. Mr. Chairman, I yield back.
Both sides of the aisle today have asked for your resignation. Would you like to use my 5 minutes to draft your resignation letter, yes or no?
No, thank you.
This is not the actions of someone who's trying to keep their job. She knew she was going to resign the next day. That was the plan all along. Her job was to take responsibility, answer nothing, stonewall, take the heat so that people above her and below her could try to avoid getting fired for incompetence.
Well, you want to keep your job, right?
Absolutely.
Okay. The best way to keep your job is to answer the questions, not play this shell game, not sing the Slim Shady song, wasn't me.
By resigning instead of being fired, she keeps her pension. It looks to me like someone told her she couldn't resign until after she ran the gauntlet, after she got up there and looked like she was taking accountability. They didn't want to make it look like she was resigning before answering questions and trying to get away with anything. One of Cheadle's possible motivations for not answering any questions is because she's under oath, and if she technically makes any lies, she could be legally responsible.
Do you have a timeline at all from any of the day?
I have a timeline that does not have specifics.
That's shocking. That is absolutely unacceptable. That means you are a failure at your job.
Everyone there started laughing at the absurdity of her statement. It's a beautiful moment where we see both Democrats and Republicans come together in a nonpartisan chuckle. Nothing brings people together like mutually disliking someone else.
And so the fact that the Secret Service is stonewalling your investigation, that they're not providing you this information. We saw the testimony yesterday from the Secret Service director where she refused to answer questions and has now resigned. I find that to be especially troubling.
The big reason it's so important for these agencies to be transparent and give the American people actual answers instead of refusing to give any details is because in the lack of any information, what you get are bad theories. During Cheadle's hearing, it was revealed that she didn't even go to Butler, PA. She didn't go to the rally site and look at any of this physical space herself. And so because of that, and because I think she already sees the writing on the wall, she knows she's going to have to take the hit for everyone, what we get is really bad answers.
That building in particular has a sloped roof at its highest point. And so, there's a safety factor that would be considered there, that we wouldn't want to put somebody up on a sloped roof. And so, the decision was made to secure the building from inside.
That answer is absolutely bonkers because it was barely a slope and there were 2 sniper teams behind Trump on rooftops that were twice as sloped. And I can tell you what struck me was just how apathetic Cheadle was and how resigned she seemed to be to her fate. Even Cheadle's opening statement wasn't a defense of her actions or why she should keep her job. She states that the Secret Service successfully secured 7,500 sites since the beginning of the year and that they protect 36 individuals in the government on a daily basis. I'm actually honestly surprised that it's not more than that.
I personally do not review security plans for events that take place across the country. It's a conjunction of personnel. There are people on the ground, there are supervisors on the detail, there are people at headquarters.
That's what people don't like about government bureaucracy, when there's a conjunction of personnel, when there's a amalgamation of people, so that everyone can jointly not take responsibility for something together. She, of course, does finally resign the next day, I think to take the heat so that her superiors and other people don't have to take the heat. We are learning a little bit more about the shooter's motivations from the FBI director.
Somewhere around July 6th or so, he became very focused on former President Trump and this rally. He did a Google search for, quote, how far away was Oswald from Kennedy?
one of the big lessons here, I think, is that just how far behind we are on counter-drone warfare when it comes to law enforcement and security.
Did Secret Service, did they have any drones in the air so that they could have an eye in the sky and see what was happening, to your knowledge?
To my knowledge, I'm not aware that they were using drones.
So if Secret Service would have requested your agency to fly drones that day, you would have been able to do so. Is that correct?
We would have endeavored to try to honor that request. Yes, sir.
What if in the future a drone is used in an assassination attempt? We've seen in Ukraine for the past 2 years, we've been watching on Funker 530 until our eyes bleed about what they've been doing with drones. So to see that we're that far behind, the Secret Service isn't deploying them, using them, or even stopping them, that to me is a big concern.
Around 3:50 p.m. on the day of the shooting, the shooter was flying the drone around the area, I would say about 200 yards, give or take, away from that. So at the time of the shooting, the drone was in his vehicle.
Over the next 60 days, the full investigation by the Secret Service, the House Oversight Committee, and the FBI themselves will be conducted, and by then, hopefully we'll have an even more full picture of what happened on that day. To check out Conflict of Nations, the free online PvP strategy game, giving away an exclusive gift to all of you. Just click on the link in the description to get 13,000 gold and 1 month of their premium account for free.